What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast.
This is our Harry Potter episode. We're ready to do this. We're dressed up for the Wizarding World. I'm obviously Harry. I'm looking
Guess
like
who I am?
the most attractive rendition of Hermione Granger we've ever seen. She's never looked so beautiful.
Especially
the character,
with the scruff.
the scruff looks great. Hermione Granger over here. Everybody.
For anyone who's just listening to this episode, I have a full Hermione wig, cardigan, tie.
and a girl's youth large sweater on.
Yeah, so it's very tight, to say the least.
Dude, you look ridiculous.
So if you want to see this crazy outfit, check it out on YouTube.
I highly recommend watching on YouTube right now because his outfit is ridiculous. I look cool. I look like Harry in Prisoner of Azkaban.
You actually do. You
do it.
You have the perfect hair for
Yeah,
it.
and I have the rolled up sleeves and the ruffled shirt and the messy hair.
But I grew out the perfect Hermione hair. It took me 2 years.
I even got a wand over here, but hey, we're ready to go because I mean we freaking love Harry Potter.
We grew up with it. It was
Yeah.
it was a big part of popular culture when we were kids in America.
So we're very excited to do this episode.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, be sure to check out any recent episodes you've missed. We just did a 2-parter on Quentin Tarantino. Subscribe on YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button right now. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. New episodes every Monday and Thursday, plus a few bonus episodes here and there. Leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us get seen by other people.
Do it, guys.
Come on, leave us 5-star review. Do it. All right. I'm always like screaming at people to do that.
Threaten them with the wand.
Maybe if I'm nicer, people will do it. But instead of me just saying, I'm just like, fucking leave the review, mother effer.
You make it seem like it's not an option for them.
Try and tone down the F bombs. All right, let's go.
For this episode, we're gonna do the entire Harry Potter film series. Not the books, just the movies, and we're going to do all 8 movies.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. We're not going to be talking about what they should have put in the movies from the books. We're not going to be talking about the books too much. We're talking about the films, the filmmaking process, every aspect of the production, as well as the storylines and stuff like that. But we're not going to be going over the books and analyzing the books because it's too dense.
That would take forever.
And you could do 30 podcasts on what they left out.
You could do an entire podcast just doing that.
We're not going to talk about things they left out or things they did differently. But Harry Potter is probably my most beloved book series and probably film series I've ever seen or ever consumed in my life.
Yeah, it's just every time I read the books, it's still great. It's probably my favorite thing to read. And the movies are always a fantastic watch.
Bro, I've read these books through like 7 times, and I've listened to the audiobooks like 4 times. I'm ridiculous. It's absurd. I'm not even afraid to admit it anymore because I've done it so many times.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. You like what you like.
I've
read them all the way through 4 times, but not 7 times.
This may be my like desert island movie franchise.
It's definitely, I mean, if you gotta pick 8 movies.
Or no, just a franchise in general. Yeah.
Oh, that's good choice, man.
Because it has 8 movies, but like the storyline, the characters, I just love them so much, and they cover so many different things about stories.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are other great franchises, but I mean, come on, Harry Potter's the best.
And I feel like Harry Potter took over the world by storm the same way Marvel did over the past 10 years. There was this 10-year period when Harry Potter just dominated popular culture, dominated the movies. Everyone lined up to see these movies, just like how they lined up to buy the books.
Oh, they've grossed over $8 billion total, including the Fantastic Beasts movie.
It became Warner Brothers' crown jewel over the last 2 decades.
Absolutely. Yeah. Besides anything that Chris Nolan does, but like Harry Potter, you're gonna make $1 billion off it easily, just the movie. Yeah. Let alone having a Wizarding World park.
Yeah, it was perfectly made for kids. I think we were 11 when the first one came out. We were prime age for it, and. It was just an unbelievable movie-going experience the first time, and it felt so incredible to see like this fantastical movie with the stars are kids our age.
Yeah, because we had already been reading the books.
Yeah,
I think we had read the first 2 books.
Yeah,
and we weren't like massive Potterheads at the time. We liked the books a lot, but like to actually see it on screen and see these characters come to life.
Yeah,
and when we're the same age as the actors, the trio.
Yeah,
so like we kind of like grew up with them and like related to every part of their lives that was going on in the movies and the books really well, I think.
And then growing up and going back to the theaters every year or 2 years to see the next one, it felt like going back to like kind of like visit family or like going back to a familiar place. It just felt very welcoming and nostalgic every time a new one came out because you're back with these characters that you love and you're looking forward to seeing what happens the next time.
Dude, it's nothing short of magical how quickly they turn these out because
oh my god,
they had these kids. They're like they're gonna grow old. You gotta get these out real fast, like every year, every other year and a half.
They turned them out so quickly that they just had to keep changing directors for 3, 4, and 5 because they couldn't a director couldn't stay on for 2 movies.
It's a lot of workload doing the pre-production. So like while they're making Azkaban, they're doing pre-production for Goblet
Yeah,
of Fire.
exactly. So while they were shooting that, Newell was doing pre-production on Goblet for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and just like, I'm sure it's an incredibly overbearing and exhaustive process just making one of these movies for a director and producers and everything, because you're creating this enormous world, this enormous landscape, and not even including sets and wardrobe, but like the actors and the characters and the casting, and you have this dense material that you have to make a script out of for just 90 minutes, for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
It's jam packed. Unlike most movies, there's so many characters, so many set pieces, so many pieces of wardrobe. I mean, it's unbelievable that they were able to turn these movies out, and on top of making all these movies in such a short period of time, they're all good.
They all really are.
There's
good.
no bad Harry Potter movie.
Even my least favorite, even your least favorite Harry Potter movie, whatever it is, it's still a really good movie.
It's still awesome. Yeah,
still great.
Yeah.
But let's get into this. I want to start with the strengths of the Harry Potter films.
Cool, man.
Again, we're not talking about like the books or anything. We're talking strictly the movies. And so I think obviously the first major strength of all the franchises and all the movies is the dense source material, though.
Yeah.
You know, J.K. Rowling created these amazing characters. She created this world and turned it into 7 incredible books, and it's so dense with tiny details like languages, wardrobe, and just like every kind of little thing. These story arcs that all connect and everything.
all the sets,
and it's incredible.
She even has pieces of history that she wrote into it that are relevant to the actual story, but like it's cool to have. Like she developed the world so much that she has like historical books that she's written for it.
Yeah, and the movies do a great job portraying accuracy to the source material. Obviously, again, there are differences that we're not really going to go over at all.
Yeah.
But they did a pretty good job bringing the books to life.
And especially, I think they knocked it out of the park putting the sets together.
Yeah.
Every set felt amazing. Diagon Alley was incredible to see the first time.
Yeah.
Even Harry's house under the floor, under the staircase. And like it's exactly how I pictured it.
The productions are production elements are amazing.
And then I think the pinnacle of the first one is when they're on the boats and they see Hogwarts for the first time, and it looks incredible, and the music's playing, and it's riveting. You know what I mean? And it's so memorable, that shot of all the boats on the water with the lanterns. The production design and cinematography of these movies are like second to none. It's great.
Yeah, you know that Hogwarts is actually a model. It's like a 2-scale model.
Down, yeah.
It's like 15 feet tall.
Yeah.
They actually used to show it off at a bunch of like some of their shows and the sites and stuff when they display all the props and wardrobe and everything. But it's actually, they built this little mini Hogwarts castle, aside from all the enormous sets they built for all the movies.
Yeah.
But the set of Hogwarts is really freaking cool, highly detailed, and I think it's used in every single film.
Yeah, and that's why it looks so good, because it's practical. It's not CGI.
Sometimes it's CGI.
Sometimes, but that first shot, that's practical.
Yeah, that's real.
And then for the entire production of the films, they rented out Pinewood Studios in the UK, which is the biggest studio, because they needed as much space as possible. And they actually shared it with James Bond.
That's pretty cool.
James Bond rents that studio for their productions as well.
Yeah, and I mean, building the Great Hall, that's one of the most iconic sets in all the movies, and it's just like, they actually built that place.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And like even like the candles were actually real. They're hanging from the ceiling.
Well, they were real until they started setting fires,
Oh, yeah.
and so they were going to just digitally take the wires out, so they were real candles hanging by wires.
Yeah.
Then the wires are getting caught on fire, so they're like, we just got to do this digitally.
I mean, that seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, if they just hang a wire with a flame right there. There's a lot of things that you have to think about, you know?
The attention to detail they put into this movie was incredible. And even just like little knickknacks that are just on the screen in the background, they put a lot of care into crafting those to make sure they're as precise and accurate as possible too.
Yeah, I mean, production designer Stuart Craig, he did just an amazing job being able to fill in the sets, in just like every square centimeter, square inch of every shot of every frame is detailed to the T, with Wizarding World paraphernalia or just like decor, and they did such an amazing job being able to create this environment in this world in every single shot. All right, next thing I want to talk about for strengths of all Harry Potter movies is the casting.
Yeah.
These films are full of some of the best British, Welsh, English, Scottish, Irish actors who've ever worked in film and theater in the last 40 years. I mean, Richard Harris, Michael Gambon, Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman, Ray Fiennes, Gary Oldman, Emma Thompson, Helena Bonham Carter, Kenneth Branagh. The list is absurd.
This is like a badge of honor for high-class actors in the UK to be in a Harry Potter movie.
You get your wand, you go to set, and you're a part of something really magical.
In terms of the cast, I think that overall, the main glue of the entire franchise and the heart of the franchise are the main trio.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So Harry, Ron, and Hermione, the movies work because of them, and they're the connective tissue for the stories.
Yeah, Harry's the hero. He's the main character, but of course, Ron and Hermione are part of like an ensemble with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, the story follows him mostly. He has so many scenes on his own, but they're as much part of the story as he is.
Yeah, and it's amazing because think about the fact that you're casting a bunch of a few 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds to play these roles that you hope work out, and a lot of money's on the line, and also the entire franchise is on the line, and it's on the shoulders of a few kids.
And you hope they stay, away from bad habits and drugs, and like don't make bad decisions in their life. And you hope that Daniel Radcliffe doesn't go bald at 17, which he doesn't. He's got great hair.
It happened to Ron.
Yeah. But it's a lot to put all this money and this enormous investment on the shoulders of 3 little kids.
Yeah, but I think they cast it perfectly.
Yeah, they found really great mature kids.
And the audition process was apparently very extensive. And it was just on a whim that they cast Dan Radcliffe as Harry. His parents didn't want him to do it, but they knew David Heyman, the producer of the films. And they all ran into each other at a show. I think it was an opera. And they said hi and stuff, and then Radcliffe and his parents went a few rows above David Heyman, ahead of him. And then Radcliffe remembers when he was at the show, and he would look back, and there was this guy just staring at him with like this quizzical look on his face. Because Heyman was like, "This is Harry Potter." Like he could get from meeting Daniel Radcliffe as a kid and just the way he looked, he felt like he was perfect for Harry. And then they auditioned him after that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely perfect for the role. Obviously, like people talk about the books and like he doesn't have green eyes.
He's not
that tall. But you know what? It's not about the eyes and the physical characteristics really. It's about the character and the acting and the person who's playing it. It's like Tom Cruise with Jack Reacher. Looks nothing like Jack Reacher in the books. Jack Reacher in the books is like 6'6", blonde and enormously jacked.
And also, you can't predict how tall a kid's gonna be when they're 10 years old.
Yeah,
it's stupid to complain about that.
Ironically, he's a pretty short guy, but it doesn't put him on some stilts or something. Put an apple box. He does a good job.
Yeah, he was a perfect Harry, and I think the film franchises work because he's so good as Harry.
All right. Next up, musical scores. And John Williams geniusly came up with the most perfect and one of the most iconic themes in film history for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And, the accuracy of what he created in terms of the music really depicts the magic of the story, the magic of the world in a musical form to bring everything together. With everything you're seeing on screen, to bring in the magical music he creates, it just is an amazing sensory experience every time you watch it.
His main theme, Hedwig's theme, is I think it's one of the most iconic themes in the last 50 years. And I remember the trailers for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone coming out and hearing that, dun, 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 and it was just something about it. It just grabbed you, and it felt like it was just meant to be for this movie. These themes, and John Williams put this movie on the wings of his music, and it just flew after that.
Wow, it's a beautiful metaphor. Can you say that again? John Williams took this music, put it on the wings of his shoulders, and it flew away. Wow, fucking Robert Frost over here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, J-Dubs is the GOAT, man.
J-Dubs.
And we'll talk more about the music throughout the movies. And it's just a damn shame that he couldn't do any more of them after Azkaban.
Because they had to keep making Star Wars movies.
Goddamn Star Wars. You know what? Hot take, Harry Potter, way better than Star Wars.
I agree with you.
All around.
I agree.
I don't care what these Star Wars hardos think or say. Harry Potter is way better. The stories are better. The characters are better. There's more humanity involved.
It's consistently good.
It's just every movie's good.
They're all good.
There are a lot of bad Star Wars movies.
There's some bad Star Wars movies.
Even the old ones, there's some bad ones.
There are movies that ruin people's childhoods.
You know what? Harry Potter, amazing. Every single one of them.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. And the final thing that they have is magic. They're magical, man.
Aw.
Who can't love that?
But it's a genius idea.
It's
such a genius
absurdly
idea
genius.
to think that there's a whole community of magic people living when regular people are unawares of them. And
Yeah.
of course you like go to school to train and you're educated and there are jobs. It's not like what we've always ever seen magic of, just like a sorcerer or a witch.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's all we ever saw of magic.
Imagine someone who'd never read the source material, read the books, and they go into the movie and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen witches before. I've seen
Yeah.
those Halloween movies and
Yeah.
stuff. And then they watch this. It's like, holy crap. It's like a real society.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels, if that's the thing, it's a society and it feels like a community and you feel like it could be real. And I remember as a kid, I wanted so badly for Hogwarts to be real.
Bro, every
I
year
wanted so
when I didn't get
badly.
my goddamn letter to Hogwarts when I was 12, I was like, fuck this shit. The world sucks. I don't want to be here. I want to go to Hogwarts. Why can't I get my letter?
Literally me as a 12-year-old.
All right. Let's get into the movies. We're going to start with the original.
Original.
Sorcerer's Stone came out in 2001. Do they call it Philosopher's Stone in
call it
England?
Philosopher's Stone,
So
yeah.
Philosopher's
Yeah.
Stone in Great Britain and England over there. This was the world builder.
Yeah.
And Chris Columbus, who's known for writing Gremlins, he also directed movies like Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, Bicentennial Man.
I think he wrote Goonies too.
Maybe he was a great choice to kind of create this world because he has experience with family-friendly material, but also like intense themes and ideas. And I think Chris Columbus did a wonderful job crafting the introduction to J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World onto screen. Something that I'm sure a lot of filmmakers, they might in their head be like, oh, I would love to do that. But like, imagine the daunting task of having this massive investment, this massive story. You've never seen anything like it on film. He's coming off Bicentennial Man, and then having the confidence to be able to create this magnificent world. And that sounds like a really, really tough job to bring this magic to life, but I think he killed it.
Columbus did a perfect job, and I think it's because of his use of old school filmmaking techniques, which really sealed the deal to make the world feel tangible and real and believable. And he has a great knack for making films and stories for young audiences, to make them connect to the characters.
Yeah, it's a tough job.
Yeah.
Like adapting a children's novel into a massive movie.
Yeah, and especially because these books took over the world by storm, so there was a lot of anticipation and a lot of build-up for these films, and high expectations. And he knocked it out of the park. And I can't imagine Sorcerer's Stone being any better than it already is. I think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah, and it's also a safe adaptation.
Yeah.
He didn't take a ton of risks with it, and he has this like sort of medieval old film style to it, which
Yeah.
works, and it kind of introduces you to this world of like wizards and like in the secret society and everything. And it's almost like cultish sometimes in the wardrobe and everything like
Yeah.
that. And again, the first time you see Hogwarts in their boats, it just blows your mind. And then as the first time you see them in classrooms and in their outfits, it's like it kind of reminds you of school if you were a kid, or if you're like, we went to Catholic school in high school. It looks
Yeah.
like Catholic high school.
Yeah, like they have the uniforms and they're shopping for school supplies at Diagon Alley. I think one of the best scenes of the movie and one of the best scenes in the franchise is when Harry gets his wand from Ollivander. And we're still seeing everything through his eyes. He's the surrogate for the audience. So everything's brand new to us, and we're so curious what everything's going to be. And then when he walks into Ollivander's and John Hurt gets him that right wand, and then the lights dim and the wind blows and John Williams' music plays, and it's unbelievable, and it's so magical, and it's such a great moment, and it really brings you into the movie.
The best part about that moment too is that it's practical effects.
Yeah.
It's very simple practical effects. It's a freaking fan,
Yeah.
a change in lighting, some mist and some smoke, and they played with their frame rates and had like a faster frame rate to make everything behind him look like it was moving faster.
Yeah.
That's like one of the key things that I think Chris Columbus did throughout this whole movie to make it seem like real magic is
Yeah.
the practical effects.
Yeah.
The first big digital shot in the movie is when they're going to Diagon Alley and Hagrid does the taps on the
bricks,
brick wall.
yeah.
The brick wall is like the first big digital effects shot in the
Yeah.
entire movie.
You're right.
And a lot of this movie, they opted for a lot of practical effects, obviously with some digital effects, but I think that really enhanced the experience for audience members to really make it seem like there's real magic.
Yeah. And you're emotionally invested in Harry right from the get-go because you see his life and it's miserable, and he doesn't have any love in his life, and he's alone, and he's with his family, but they don't act like his family, so you really feel for him, and you want things to go well for him. And so when you go along on this journey with him, you're there for the ride the whole time, and you can't wait to see what happens next. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like when you go to summer camp, you don't know what kind of friends you're gonna make, and you're kind of nervous to go, but except it's
like
wizards.
You want him to do well.
Yeah.
But you love him so much.
Yeah, you love the characters so much, and Harry's amazing. And then you finally meet Ron and Hermione, and
Yeah.
they're perfectly cast with Emma Watson and Rupert Grint in these roles.
Yeah, and them meeting on the train is a great, like, the first meeting of them three is just fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. And it's like their first big moment together and everything. And then, like, when you meet Hagrid's huge in the first movie. He's in a lot of the early scenes, and he introduces Harry to the world and explains everything to him and about his parents and everything. And Robbie Coltrane plays Hagrid, and obviously Hagrid in the books is like 12 feet tall, but in the movies he's about 8'6". But Robbie Coltrane's only 6'1". So in order to capture this half giant on camera with normal sized people, they had to use a combination of practical and digital effects with him. So a lot of the close-ups and mediums and stuff, when you see Hagrid's real face and everything, it's Robbie Coltrane actually acting, obviously. And then there's different things they could do with camera tricks and wide
just
lenses.
like the Lord of the Rings.
And to try to make him seem like he's either bigger in a situation with smaller characters. And they also had a stunt double for wide shots or like shots where his face isn't included with this guy who's 6'10", and he would put on this massive Hagrid suit. So this enormous human being would put on this enormous Hagrid suit, even like a full body suit with fake hands, a fake head,
probably big boots too.
Yeah, everything to make him look like he's 8'6", and this guy would just walk around, lumber around for all those wide shots. So that's actually not It's not actually Robbie Coltrane, obviously. But they also used a lot of digital effects where they would film a lot of his scenes throughout the series, green screen and blue screen, and then they would digitally impose him onto different sets and different shots with other human beings. So they had to do a lot of cool, fun effects for it, but they did a great job making it seem like Robbie Coltrane was actually Hagrid, who's this half giant.
Yeah, and he was J.K. Rowling's first choice, actually, and only choice for the role.
That's cool. He's perfect.
That's exactly who she wanted for it.
But again, master craftsmanship of this movie, the sets, the props, the wardrobe. The storyline's really great in this movie, even if you've never read the books.
And then when we meet Dumbledore, it's like, when we see Dumbledore for the first time, it's like, oh, that's a wizard.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we imagine a wizard growing up. This tall, old guy with a huge white beard and a crazy hat and robes. Like, this is the first time you're like, oh, this is what I think of as a wizard.
Yeah, and Richard Harris did an amazing job as Dumbledore, just bringing this warmth and wisdom to the character that you obviously felt in the books. Obviously, unfortunately, he didn't make it in life past Chamber of Secrets, and so he obviously eventually got replaced by Michael Gambon. But obviously, it's a tragedy, and it's a tough thing to deal with when you're dealing with older actors, and these things happen. But he won't ever be forgotten, and it's one of my favorite Richard Harris roles of all time.
He was perfect as Dumbledore, and Michael Gambon brought a new take to the character, made it a little more youthful, and it gave him like a hint of an Irish accent. And obviously, I think it worked out best having Michael Gambon being able to do the more physical action scenes in the later films of the franchise.
Yeah.
But I think Richard Harris was perfect as Dumbledore.
Yeah, because, I mean, in the books, the wizards are like 200 years old. They age so long, but, like, they're also... Dumbledore's always described as being, like, youthful at heart and, like, agile for an old man.
Pretty energetic, yeah.
And so, like, Gambon was a great choice to replace the legendary Richard Harris. Rest in peace.
Big shoes to fill, but he did a great job.
One of my pet peeves, though, throughout, like, all the Harry Potter movies, when you first see... in the Sorcerer's Stone is like these massive dinners and feasts. Yeah. Like every time they go out to dinner at the Great Hall, there's just a smorgasbord of like the most calorie dense foods you ever seen in your life. How is obesity and diabetes not a problem at Hogwarts?
There's desserts everywhere. Dude, kids are going crazy on that food.
I would get so fat if I went to Hogwarts. I was a fat kid and all I was eating was Dunkaroos. Imagine if there's an ice cream sundae in front of your face every night, followed by turkey and giblets before.
How was Ron especially not obese?
He's just one of those kids. It all went to his dumb face.
And then it's great when one of my favorite parts of the movie is Quidditch. That first Quidditch match, and you see the kids are flying on these broomsticks, but it's a sport, and it's like high octane, and it's so much fun. obviously you've never seen anything like it. And then the way Harry catches the snitch is pretty hysterical. But it was amazing. Like, I became obsessed with Quidditch.
Yeah, Quidditch was the bomb, dude.
Yeah.
It was so dope.
It was one of the best. It's always been one of the best parts of Harry Potter.
Yeah, and the digital effects were good in this movie. They still hold up. Obviously, they're a little old.
Yeah.
They're a little dated, but like the bricks again look fine. The three-headed dog, what's it, Snowflake or Fluffy? Fluffy, something like that.
Yeah.
It still looks pretty good. Obviously you can tell it's dated CGI.
Yeah.
But I think they do a good job. And then throughout the story's just amazing. We all know, we've all seen it a million times. And then the final act of the three of them going through all the tests,
The trials, yeah.
to save the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And then a lot of practical effects were using that too, especially with the Devil's Snare was actually just a bunch of puppeteers with doing these tentacles, and they would actually film it and then do it in reverse, so that it would look like they were pulling on them rather than pushing them. So they had to do these like fun camera tricks and editing tricks to make the Devil's Snare look actually real, because a CGI shot back then especially was like incredibly expensive,
especially with the character interacting with the CGI character.
And like they only reserved it for specific things that they absolutely couldn't do. Like you can't really do the brick thing.
Yeah.
You can't do the three-headed dog.
Yeah.
So you got to do it. But when you can do it, Devil's Snare and stuff like that, you got to pull it off.
Yeah.
Even the chess pieces were real.
Yeah. Those chess pieces, that chess scene was fantastic. It was so good.
It's like the only scene that Ron has that he's heroic, besides like later on in
It's
Deathly
the only
Hallows.
time he does anything until Deathly Hallows.
After this,
only time he does anything at all.
He's just a mess after this. JK just took this character and was like, fuck this guy. He's just going to be comic relief the whole time.
Make funny faces.
Yeah. Because it's actually a great scene for him, and he earns his wings as like a wizard in part of this trio.
Yeah.
And the chess pieces were real. And they were like operated with wheels, and like they drove them around and stuff.
I remember we got the Wizard's chess for Christmas, and we were like freaking out about it.
Oh, it was awesome. But I love how like when Ron sacrifices himself and his piece gets like stabbed, like the sword like doesn't even touch him, and like he falls down like he's dead. It's like, dude, get up! That couldn't hurt that bad.
Yeah.
Like, you've never fallen down before. It was like 3 feet. Jesus.
And then the final scene with Quirrell was great. When we first see Voldemort for the first time.
Because you don't really know what Voldemort's ever going to look like.
Yeah.
Because even when the first movie came out, the other books weren't out yet. You know what I mean? It was like 2001, and she didn't
Just
finish.
the first two were out.
Yeah, the first two were out. So, like, you never knew really who Voldemort still was and, like, what he was going to be like.
Yeah.
And then he's just, like, this misty, ghosty kind of thing
like
on
Thanos.
On this guy's head. Yeah, that she teased the hell out of him. Yeah, maybe Marvel just stole J.K. Rowling's ideas or, like, timelines and story arcs. But, you know, we all know, we saw it, and Harry saves the day, and
for the first time,
touches Quirrell's face, and he turns to stone because of his mother's love. Mm-hmm. Magic that Voldemort never understood and never will understand. His biggest weakness
Getting
is
to the mean themes already.
He can never love. It's all about love. Oh, yes, love Dumbledore.
But the first movie is one of my favorites in the whole franchise, and every time I watch it, it brings me back. It's very nostalgic. It's so well made that I know I'll be able to watch it over and over again for the rest of my life and still love it. And it's just a great introduction to this world.
Love it, yeah. Just quick, really fun facts is there were entire animal production teams for this movie. So, like, they had 4 different owls play Harry's owl. More than a dozen rats played Scabbers. Hermione's pet Cruikshanks was played by 4 different cats. And 9 Neapolitan Mastiffs played Hagrid's dog Fang.
9?
Yeah. And also, Harry's Gryffindor dorm room, the props change inside the dorm room, but they don't change the beds. So, like, when you watch the later ones, like in like Half-Blood Prince specifically, the beds are still small, and they like kind of have to like curl up in them.
Oh, they just probably never built new sets.
Because I don't think they had enough space. They're like, screw it, we'll just have, we're hardly shooting here anyways. Yeah. They just put new stuff on the walls.
Save money, too.
Yeah, so it's kind of a little fun fact. But let's get rolling on to Chamber of Secrets.
Let's do it.
What a sequel. Great job. The second in the planned series of this amazing Potter franchise, brimming with invention and ideas.
Did you say brimming with invention?
I did say brimming with invention.
They got a little darker with this one, and they had real life or death stakes throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
And also, I think this is the funniest one.
I think it's up there. It's pretty funny. I mean, Ron's very funny in this movie.
I feel like they found the strengths of each of the leads and like catered to those strengths.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And also, you can tell when you watch this movie that it's going to be one of the most important film franchises ever. And it's in its adolescence, like its characters. and it's developing, and
Yeah.
it's just gonna get better and better. And you immediately know that watching this movie from the beginning.
And it's a lot of fun. I mean, it opens with the flying car.
Yeah,
which
the
is
escaping.
Yeah, it's great. And then there's just the great moments where they're flying in London, and Harry's like, Ron, Muggles aren't used to seeing a flying car. And then they're looking for the train, and it ends up coming up right behind them. But it's a great intro for this movie. It's a lot of fun. And then they crash into the Whomping Willow.
Yeah. The kids' acting gets a lot better in this one. It's
Much better.
The acting is noticeably not great in the first one because they're probably nervous like crazy.
In the first one, the acting was so bad for the kids that they had to roll with 3 cameras on each take, because in order to capture anything, they had to just get as much coverage as possible.
Yeah, none of them have really ever been in a movie before.
Yeah.
I think they were acting in like plays and stuff like that.
like
but like to
commercials and
be
stuff.
on the main character on these massive movies,
Yeah.
very daunting tasks for these kids. And yeah, so when you watch the first one, you're like, oh my God, Radcliffe, that's terrible. But like second one, they're a lot better. They're more seasoned, and everything's more believable.
Yeah.
And obviously they're noticeably taller because these kids are starting to get old now. Harry and Ron's are a little deeper voice now.
Yeah.
But Ron's hysterical in this whole entire movie.
The faces he makes are just fantastic, and they make the movie in a lot of ways. Like just the way he looks at Harry when they're driving, or
in the flying car,
and
then like the trains behind them, and they
then
crash in the Whomping Willow.
He's like, "What's that mean? What's that mean?"
He breaks his wand.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why he got that role, was because he's able to make these funny faces.
Yeah, he's a funny
He's very
kid.
expressive.
Funny kid in this movie.
Yeah.
We also got introduced to a lot of new characters in this movie. First and foremost, Dobby, who's iconic in Harry Potter world, and he's a hero, but he's a menace in this movie. And it's so cool to see like a digital character interacting with humans on camera, which you'd start to see, but like they did a great job, and the CGI looked great on him.
It looked good, yeah.
It was around the same time that Lord of the Rings was coming out with Gollum.
Yeah.
So same kind of thing.
They're using the highest technology available at the time.
Yeah, and it was the first time I watched a movie with like a digital character and a human. I'm like, what? That actually looks real as hell.
And it's got one of the funniest shots in all of the movies is when Dobby's floating the cake towards the couple.
Yeah.
And then Harry's just walking behind it. He's like trying to grab it, but it looks like he's using his magic to float the cake, and the Dursleys are just looking at him like, oh fuck. So funny.
But I love the scene before that in his room when he's bashing himself in the head with the
the
light,
lamp. Yeah.
and just the lighting on the CGI of his
Yeah,
face
looks
it's
real.
like phenomenal. They did
Yeah.
a great job with that, and this is like 2002 or 2003, so they did a fantastic job.
And they really they added more with Draco and the rivalry with him, especially when they have that Quidditch match.
Yeah.
And you can really feel him as a antagonist that's growing into the story.
Yeah, he's becoming a more mature villain,
Yeah.
and then they have the duel.
Yeah.
But also,
And we learn about them when they do the Polyjuice Potion, and they go into the Slytherin Commons.
yeah, this might be the most screen time that Draco gets in all
I think
the movies.
absolutely, except yeah, it's got to be, yeah, absolutely.
Maybe a little bit in Half-Blood because he has his own story going on.
Yeah.
But he gets a lot of screen time in this, and I like Draco better when he's a younger kid. I think he's more fun.
Yeah.
And when he's older, he's just kind of like a moody goth kid.
Yeah, he's an emo kid.
But he's a great bad evil villain in the first couple. He's just like his father, who we also get introduced to,
Did
Lucius
you know
Malfoy.
that Tom Felton, the actor who plays Draco, was actually the original choice to play Harry before they got Radcliffe?
Thank God he didn't get picked.
Yeah.
Because it would have been a way different series.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have done a good job.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have felt the same.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he was very likely about to get the part. Yeah,
he's way better as a villain.
he's great as a villain. Yeah,
And
his dad's a great villain, and we're introduced to him here.
yeah, so Jason Isaacs,
Yeah.
is phenomenal as Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah.
Again, they just cast so well in these movies.
He plays that perfect, like highbrow, like I'm better than you,
Like delicious,
aristocrat,
charismatically evil character.
You can tell he's just so evil.
Yeah.
He's just a sociopath. He thinks he's better than everyone. He plays it so well.
Yeah, he's awesome. You can tell he might be having the most fun in this movie out of
Yeah.
all the
Probably,
actors.
yeah.
It looks like he's having a great time.
It's pretty much the same character as in The Patriot.
yeah.
Same thing.
You're right.
That's probably why he got cast in this.
It's even the same accent and everything. Pompous douchebag England. But Lucius is great. Then we also get introduced to Gilderoy Lockhart, played
Yeah.
by Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
Which he's awesome as his
He's
character.
so funny. He's perfect. He's
Perfectly
perfect.
cast, bringing this character to life, and you just can't help but like hate Gilderoy Lockhart so much, but like you feel bad for him because he's such a loser in real life.
Like the true Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah.
Is a bum.
But he's so good. Like when he's in the classroom before he lets the Pixies goes, and he's like winner of Which Weekly Smile 5 times.
He's
like
so self-entitled.
He's like smiling to a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
In like second year students and everything.
Yeah, he's probably the best piece of comedy in the movie, Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, he's great. One of my favorite parts of the movie is just the opening sequence where Harry gets rescued by the Weasley brothers with the flying car, and then they go to the Burrow. And you've seen the first movie, but you haven't seen like a magical home with like actual wizards where they live.
Yeah.
You spend the whole movie at Hogwarts pretty much, and then when you finally get to see like a real wizarding home with a real wizarding family, and you just notice all these amazing things, but it's also similar to us but different. Like it looks kind of the same, but you know there's brush cleaning a pan, there's these fun trinkets everywhere.
The clock that tells us where each Dursley is.
Yeah, if they're either like safe at school or in mortal peril.
Home. Yeah, mortal peril.
And it's great. And also a cool thing that they did for the movie was for this set is there are no right angles at the Weasley's burrow to make it look like the family's just completely disheveled. So that's why everything's like kind of looks out of like uneven and at angles and stuff like that.
It's all obtuse and the cute angles.
Yeah, and then Errol crashes into the window. It's just hilarious. But something about the Weasleys too is obviously you relate to them so well. We relate to them because we have a huge family.
Yeah, because we have 4 older brothers,
and we're the twins, so it's just like another huge family. We just need a sister.
I related to them so much.
We need a sister, and we're literally the Weasley boys and sister,
and the parents are great. And he asks Harry, "What is the purpose of a rubber duck?"
Like you could function of a rubber duck.
You could ask him any question about Muggles, and he asks that.
But that's just his character. It's great. But also with Mr. Weasley, every movie he has like some different wild wardrobe on. Like they're trying to figure out what to do with this fucking guy. Yeah. Like Molly's kind of the same in every movie. She's just got like a simple.
She's like a hippie wizard.
Yeah, but then like Mr. Weasley in like the first 4 movies, completely different outfit every single time, and then by the 5th one, they're like, let's just have him shop at Macy's.
He had a very normal Muggle outfit for the last few. Yeah.
Then he got eclectic in the 3rd one, but we'll get to that.
And what's great about the Chamber is we really delve into who Voldemort is, and we learn about Tom Riddle, and it's such a great reveal at the end of the film when Harry encounters Tom Riddle. And we're so curious about who this person is. We know he made the diary, but like, who is Tom Riddle? And then we learn that it's the acronym, I am Lord Voldemort. So it's the first time he's actually encountered Voldemort in the flesh. And it's a fantastic reveal.
Yeah, because when he's going inside the diary and seeing these flashbacks of Hagrid opening the Chamber of Secrets, if it really happened, and unleashing the monster, you think that Riddle's a good guy, and you think Riddle's on his side, and he thinks that, and so he trusts him until they get to the Chamber of Secrets, and he realizes what's going on.
And you show how Voldemort is a master manipulator, and how he tricked Harry.
And it's just amazing to picture that, like, J.K. thought of, like, this immense story with all these arcs, and, like, the Horcruxes start here.
Yeah, well, we don't even know the diary is a Horcrux until...
Season
3.
Season 3 of Harry Potter. Horcruxes.
Half-Blood Prince. So it's amazing that she put all these nuggets throughout the early films, which eventually led into the overall story arc of the film franchise.
Her imagination was immense.
Yeah.
Not that like other stories and unknown stories don't have great like worlds and everything, but like this was so popular that we can't help but talk about it.
And then the fight with the basilisk. The fight with the basilisk is awesome. Because it's really terrifying, this creature.
Well, it's practical effects again. They actually built a 25-foot tall basilisk.
We watched Chamber a couple of weeks ago, and there are so many shots of the practical basilisk head, and it still looks good.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks better than CGI, I think, in a lot of ways.
I think so. Yeah, it's like Jurassic Park with the real raptors.
Obviously it doesn't move exactly like a snake would, but it looks real. The light's really hitting it there on set.
There's really like sweat dripping down its face and everything.
And it's a terrifying creature.
Yeah, and I love the combination of the digital and practical effects here. Yeah. You know, he's got a jaw, he's got nostrils, he's got these giant fangs, and you actually see it. Yeah. And again, a CGI shot, just a single shot back then was like $100,000. Yeah. Just a couple seconds of a shot. But then, you know, if you build this giant set, you build this giant basilisk, financially you're saving money. If you're maybe now it's down to $30,000 per shot. That's a good investment.
And that set, the Chamber of Secrets set, is one of my favorite sets in all of the Harry Potter.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's fantastic.
It's enormous.
It's so cool. And they built the whole thing. It's crazy.
Can you imagine like hanging out on that for the day?
Yeah,
Like,
for real.
It's so big.
And it was nice in the last film when they went back in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
To get the fangs.
Yeah.
And again, not to like finish up too quickly, but like you were also introduced to like new magic. So like the flue powder sequence is super fun when you're traveling flue powder.
Yeah.
And it gets lost in Nocturne Alley.
Diagonally.
What do you say? Diagonally. And like you almost wish you could see more of Nocturne Alley.
And we also see the box that Malfoy uses in Half-Blood Prince in that store he winds up in. And also we're introduced to dueling in this one.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun because we can learn how physical altercations happen in the wizarding world.
And just like in everything in the wizarding world, it looks so unsafe. Like you think they're just gonna like learn simple moves, and they're like only disarming spells, and they're just blasting each other.
They're throwing each other 30 feet across the room.
Yeah, and like my one knock on this whole sequence is like every spell does the same thing.
Yeah, they all just push them
just
back.
like you spin differently. Like you either twirl like a ballerina or you go backwards in somersault. It's like what the fuck? Can we get like something cool happening? I love Chamber. It's one of the best ones for sure. It might even be better than Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
Great time. Again, John Williams' score is fantastic. So good. He expanded on Sorcerer's Stone, and yeah.
Let's move on.
All right, let's move on.
We got Prisoner of Azkaban.
My favorite Harry Potter movie.
I think it might be my favorite too.
I think it's the best one too.
And I think the reason for that obviously is because it was made by Alfonso Cuarón, and he was given freedom to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And have a little fun with things.
Yeah, Cuarón created this like shift from this like medieval classical style of filmmaking to more edgy, realistic, gritty filming in this new approach. And
the color palette of the film is this dark blue gray, the hues darker, so you really feel the tone shift right here for the franchise.
Yeah, and everything. We're even talking about wardrobe, lighting, set design. Everything's changed. It's obviously similar, but Cuarón had this brilliant vision for this movie and for the franchise because he set the tone pretty much for every other movie after this.
Yeah.
Before David Yates takes over, and Cuarón's vision is phenomenal. And he even fit in a handheld shot in this.
Yeah, one of the first shots is in the house when Harry opens the door for the couple visiting.
Yeah, at the Dursleys' house.
Yeah.
And no, he opens the door for Vernon.
Vernon, yeah.
So he opens the door for Vernon. It's a handheld shot. It's real quick. It's like 5 seconds long, but it's so fun.
It tells you like, oh, we're changing it up right here.
Yeah, Cuarón's he loves his handheld shots.
He also in this film, because he's a pioneer of long takes in the modern era, and he uses long takes a few times in this movie, and they're brilliant. And they're not easy to spot. You don't even notice that when they're happening.
Yeah, like the one where Mr. Weasley takes Harry to talk to aside from everybody else.
Yeah.
At like the Leaky Cauldron.
It's a 3-minute shot.
Amazing shot.
Yeah.
And what he does is every like couple seconds, it's a newly framed shot with different.
He sets it up in different angles. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a brain shut off for a second.
But he brings his unique foreign film aesthetic to the Harry Potter franchise in a great way.
It's like realism. Yeah. Bringing realism to the Wizarding World.
Yeah.
Rather than complete magic.
That's what doing a long take does, and that's what doing a handheld shot does.
And more new practical effects, I think. So like one of my favorite practical effects in Azkaban, which you didn't see in the first two movies, which he does in the beginning of the movie, is Lumos, lighting up the wands, creating this like flashlight and wands, which you read about in the book so often. You never saw it in the first two movies.
Yeah.
And then it's in the opening of the movie when Harry's reading his magic book under his blanket.
yeah.
He's just saying, Lumos, Maximus, Maxima. And like it's so cool to see this like practical, simple effect of just a wand being lit and how much it brings you more into the world of magic. And I guess what they would use is obviously real lights on the tips of the wands, but they were battery powered. And I guess the actors had to wear these battery packs like on their arms, and they said by the end of the day you're like exhausted because you're opening like a pound of batteries for like 8 hours straight
for 100 takes
on just one arm. But I love the effect, and it adds so much to the movie.
Yeah, and then John Williams' score was mixed up a little bit too. He added like a lot of new themes, a new style to it, a new tone to it to match the new tone of the film.
It's very jazzy.
Yeah,
like the night bus. The night bus scene, you're like, whoa, this is freaking cool.
Yeah,
I like this a lot.
That's how we started. I was a jazz pianist.
So edgy and fun. Yeah. And not that the other ones aren't edgy, aren't fun, but like they're very classical.
Yeah.
And then just take this whole new look on Harry Potter and what you can do with the Wizarding World.
And then one of the most memorable aspects to the franchise that we're introduced to in this film are the Dementors.
Yeah.
Which end up being one of my favorite villains. They're just terrifying creatures, and just the thought of them being real is horrifying. These soul-sucking monsters that can fly, and it's just a terrifying villain. And that first time we see one on the train, and everything freezes, and it opens the door, and it's got these long fingers with like talons on its like these long nails, and Harry passes out. Like that was a great way to introduce that new creature.
Is awesome. And you're also introduced to Remus Lupin, played by Thewlis.
David Thewlis.
Yeah, and he does an amazing job. And Lupin becomes like such a huge character in this movie, and becomes a fan favorite for a lot of people.
He plays a father figure to Harry in this movie.
Harry's really his first father figure, if you think about it. Like Hagrid,
I would say Hagrid maybe.
Hagrid's more like a brother figure.
I wouldn't say uncle.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Hagrid's so much a father figure. Obviously, Dumbledore becomes a father figure, but they're still very distant and don't know each other very well. But Lupin's the first like real father figure that he has.
He's the first adult male that he connects to on an emotional level.
Because Hagrid's a silly kind of kid guy. You know, he's a big giant. Like he's not a father figure.
And also, Lupin has a connection to Harry's father, and his mother. So, it's great it feels like he's kind of part of family to him. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because he knows him from he knows his past. Just like when we're introduced to Sirius, played by Gary Oldman. Yeah, who's I think probably my favorite character in Harry Potter. Yeah. If not Harry, but like Sirius is my favorite character.
He's easily the coolest character in all of the movies. He's so cool. This is Gary Oldman's at his coolest.
Yeah, he's like in his prime. Yeah. He's got this great mustache and
great mustache.
The hair and everything. He's just perfect for this part, and he plays it so well. But obviously you don't really get to know him yet.
But you get that shot of him on the newspaper screaming, and you think he's this deranged killer. And Gary's so talented that he's able to sell that and also sell the fact that he's actually a good, kind person by the time he's really revealed.
Yeah. In this movie, it's really a lot of fun. Yeah. It's probably the most fun out of all of them, and there's so many great scenes.
It's like, the most unique, too.
Like the Buckbeak scene and like that great music, that's the drums when he hops on Buckbeak's back and they go fly over the lake.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then the Bogart scene, I love the Bogart scene when Lupin's teaching them how to defend against one. It's just so fun, and it's a great laugh, like the spider on the roller skates, and Alan Rickman and Snape in Neville's grandmother's outfit.
The divination class is awesome.
Yeah, everything about this movie is really fun, except for that one kid who's always like, it's like trying to catch smoke.
Trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. That kid gets like 3 random lines throughout the movie.
That end scenes. Yeah. And then there's just like a train whistle. But overall, beautifully filmed movie. Yeah. Every single shot is just artistically a beautiful master shot, and the lighting, the coloring, the wardrobe, just the framing. It's all amazing. It looks so good.
Shot on film, man.
Michael Saracen filmed it. He did the new Planet of the Apes movies. He helped on Gravity too, which Karan did.
Oh, he filled in for Lubeski when he couldn't shoot.
So it's a really fun movie.
And one of my favorite things that ever happened in any of the movies is when Hermione and Harry go back in time. And it's
super fun.
It's such a creative part of the plot that J.K. came up with, and I love how they're trying to avoid themselves, and how things that happened the first time were caused by them in the future. Yeah, and it's brilliant. I loved it. Every time I watch it, I'm like, this is so genius and so creative.
It's so fun. Yeah, every freaking scene in this movie is a blast. Yeah, and then like the Forbidden Forest with the werewolf, and I really like the design of the werewolf, because normally you see werewolf and it's just like this big, giant, monstrous werewolf, but he's more like a dog, and he's kind of
he's hairless.
Yeah. I think I love the creature design in this movie is great. Yeah, and then the Shrieking Shack, when you finally get to see Sirius and Lupin, and you don't know what the hell is going on.
It's a standoff.
And it seems like a climax. It seems like the end of the movie almost. And it's not even close to the end of the movie.
No way.
We haven't even gotten to the Dementor scene where Harry saves himself. Oh my god, father.
That's one of the that scene where he's just waiting for who he thinks is his dad is going to show up to put a Patronus up that he saw earlier, this giant Patronus, and then when he just realizes it's not his dad, and he just jumps up on the shore and he does Expecto Patronum.
Save him in Sirius.
Dude, goosebumps. I just got goosebumps thinking about it.
It's one of my favorite scenes
It's
of
unbelievable.
in all the Harry Potter movies.
It's so great, and then you could see that Harry is actually a very powerful wizard and very talented, and this is the first time you get to see him really showcase that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because normally, the whole other two movies, he just seems like a normal guy.
Yeah.
But then you realize, wow, he's got some skills.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the Quidditch is the best in this movie out of
it's
all
great.
of them. It's so fun.
And the aspect of the rain
Yeah,
is great.
The music is awesome to it too.
Yeah.
And like when he flies past the crowd and you can hear him go Gryffindor.
Yeah,
it's just so cool.
Yeah.
It seems so realistic.
And
But
this is-
unfortunately, it's kind of the shortest one though.
Yeah, it's tiny. And Williams' score is great, and this is the last time John Williams scored a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it's also again where Michael Gambon takes over as Dumbledore instead of Richard Harris.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about that. It's unfortunate that Richard Harris had passed away before to get to filming on this one. But again, Michael Gambon did a great job establishing himself as the new Dumbledore. And I think his opening speech at the first feast kind of just introduced him to the audience as I'm the new Dumbledore.
Which is also another long take.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Prisoner's our favorite one. Now let's move on to my least favorite one. Goblet of Fire. And just saying it's my least favorite one doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's just my bottom ranked one.
Yeah, me too. And it's one of the better books too, but this movie the tone is just a little, it doesn't feel quite right like the other one.
It's lost, I think.
Yeah, and especially coming after Azkaban, you got big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But Mike Newell did a good job with it. And the cast is really getting older in this one. You can see like they're older teenagers.
Yeah.
They're growing up, and this one has the fun theme of the kids going through puberty and dating for the first time with the dance. So that's a fun aspect of it.
Yeah, Newell's a good transition from the brilliance of Quran to the very effectiveness of David Yates. It also introduced us to Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort.
Yeah, when Voldemort is reborn, that scene is so intense and terrifying and so well done. And the final design of Voldemort is perfect. It's
brilliant.
It's exactly how I pictured him in the books.
I think Ralph Fiennes, he's one of the best cast actors for the character in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
And he's legit born to be Voldemort.
He crushed it, and he does so much with it, and he only has a few scenes in this one and the next few. But he's absolutely terrifying as Voldemort.
Doesn't even look human.
No.
I mean, aesthetically, he doesn't look human, but even in his eyes, like, that's not a real human being playing him. It's insane.
He commits to it fully.
Yeah.
And that scene is great, and especially when they have that duel at the end.
Yeah.
And their wands cross.
Yeah. And this movie was like the long hair craze that the United States and England was going through. So, like, everyone's just got ridiculous long hair, which I think it was a thing going on. It was like a fad.
Yeah.
Culturally.
Yeah.
So they just like, hey, everyone grow your fucking hair out. Everyone had long hair in this
like
movie.
surfer hair.
Yeah. It was just, like the cool. And then one con, I have multiple cons of this movie, but one of my least favorite things about it is the Durmstan and Bow Bottom schools are just like boys' school and a girls' school.
Yeah.
It's like, where do the French boys go to school?
Yeah, exactly.
Where do the Scandinavian girls learn magic?
Yeah.
What the hell?
My biggest qualm with the movie is one of the main plots of the film is the high school dance coming up, and Harry and Ron are struggling to get dates, and I just find it so unbelievable that Harry can't find a date to the dance, because this guy should be the superstar of this school. Like, up until this point, he's defeated Voldemort twice. He slayed a basilisk, and he defeated a dragon at the Triwizard Tournament. And no girl wants to go to the dance with him? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You would think it's because he's like a nervous kid. He's a normal kid. That's
But
the
still,
whole point.
There would be nervous girls going after him.
There should be girls waiting outside of his classroom every day.
He should have
class.
a line outside of his bedroom. All right, next.
It's true. It's true.
He slayed a dragon.
Like, what do you gotta do to be cool?
He beat a basilisk and a dragon.
That dragon scene's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
like
the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
The second best part of the movie.
when he fights the dragon, that's a really
that
cool
chase scene. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a fun movie. Getting introduced to Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort is awesome. Yeah, my least favorite one. We won't spend all day on it.
But it's still great.
Yeah, it's still great.
Still fun to
great
watch.
The books, it might be the best book.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's dense. But let's move on
Let's do it.
to Order of the Phoenix, number 5.
So, and then this is when things start getting pretty serious, and it's the first time we see an attack in the real world when Harry gets attacked in the tunnel by that Dementor
with Dudley.
with Dudley, yeah.
Dudley Dursley.
Yeah.
And it's the first time he uses magic outside of the Wizarding World on purpose,
Yeah.
which is obviously a no-no, and leads to this wild storyline where Harry's being tried for a crime as an adult for a wizard using magic outside of school, which is illegal. Mm-hmm. And normally this would just be a slap on the wrist because he was defending himself. But however, David Yates takes over and he does this great job of having Voldemort in the world somewhere. Voldemort's back. People don't know it yet, but he does a great job creating this tension and shows like these little things that Voldemort's starting to take over, like government, and he's reaching his hands out there. But also Cornelius Fudge doesn't want to believe it, so he's putting a tighter, firm grip on everything.
And there's that great shot when Harry's at the train station and he just catches a glimpse of Voldemort. He's wearing that black suit and he's just standing in the train station. And it's a vision, but it looks great.
Dude, I love that shot because there's so many memes that I made about it.
He's like got that like
it's like
head.
Voldemort for Giorgio Armani. So that's like Harry dreaming of Voldemort, and we're trying to find out that he's there.
But this movie, what it does is it shows us that it reveals the connection that Voldemort has to Harry, and how they're tied together, and how Voldemort is affecting Harry in a negative way.
So this is the first film for David Yates as the successor to Newell, and he eventually becomes the main director for the rest of the Harry Potter movies and on to Fantastic Beasts. So he's basically the new director for Harry Potter. He establishes a new style for the remaining films, kind of like similar to Quaron's style in Azkaban, which I think he tried to emulate, but also his own twist on it. Mm-hmm. And this film proves without a doubt that Harry Potter and the franchise is growing up.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting older. These, again, like you said, things are getting more serious. There's more serious themes. There's more serious tones. People are actually in real danger. And relationships are starting to build and everything like that. And the Dark Lord is back.
Yeah, and also in this one, I think is the first time we start spending a lot more time outside of the school. Mm-hmm. So that before they get to school, there's a lot going on.
The Order of the Phoenix, man.
Man.
We finally get to learn about Sirius. Yeah. And you finally get a sense of who he is, his character. And you grow to love him in this movie and his interactions with Harry. And you see the bond and relationship they're starting to build.
Yeah. And it's like this cool group of vigilantes that are fighting against the Death Eaters, and it's awesome.
And it's top secret, and Harry's not allowed because they're all too young. But, Sirius wants him to join, does that, like, wink for him.
Yeah. And he really becomes a father figure to him in this one.
Yeah, big time. You can really see the love.
Yeah.
And another great thing about this movie that you love and hate at the same time is Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah.
And obviously you hate her in the books, but they did such a good job bringing this character to life, creating this evil little toad-like woman who you hate. You hate her so much, and they're so accurate with like her pink wardrobes and like the little kitten dishes and
her
everything.
Voice.
And her how evil she just is as a person and a human being and a witch. And Imelda Staunton did a fantastic job bringing Dolores Umbridge back to life.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best parts of the movie because you hate it so much, and it's like so annoying whenever she's on camera, but you can't live without it.
She's a contradiction to, like, on the outside is a complete opposite to who she is on the inside. She's ruthless and she's cruel on the inside. Like when she's literally punishing students by torturing them.
Just one downside to this movie is you don't get much Dumbledore because obviously in the book he's keeping his distance from Harry because he thinks that will help protect him from Voldemort.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a bummer because, Michael Gammon's great and you want to learn more about Dumbledore. And he's kind of disappears because he's being attacked as having told that he's lost his ways and they try to kick him out of Hogwarts and everything.
Yeah.
Dumbledore's army, super fun.
Yeah.
So all these kids are just getting together.
They're preparing a rebellion.
Yeah, they understand there's about to be a war that's going to happen. And, they're not being taught the proper information and given the proper skills to defend themselves in the real world if they get attacked by a Death Eater or by Voldemort. Mm-hmm. And so you find out Harry's a great leader. He's a great teacher. And he actually is a very skilled wizard because he has to take all these kids and teach them how to fight and teach them how to cast spells.
He's been through so much shit. He's like a war veteran. And then this leads to the highlight of the movie, and it's the first epic battle between two wizards when Voldemort goes up against Dumbledore. And it's exactly everything you wanted to see in this fight that we were building towards. Like the shit these two do, the magic they're performing is unbelievable. From like that fire dragon to like that giant orb of water that he traps Voldemort in, and then like when Voldemort like breaks all the glass in the Ministry and like sends it flying to Dumbledore, and he makes that like force field that turns it all to sand.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. It's
so sick.
Incredible.
And then Harry fucks everything
Yeah,
up.
he keeps getting in the way.
And I love the possession scene.
Yeah.
It's really emotional, and it kind of like brings tears to your eye because it's this beautiful score going along in the background, and you can just see Voldemort's just trying to take Harry over and just consume his life and possess him, but Harry's fighting back, and he won't let him in, and then he eventually, this is another situation where Voldemort doesn't understand that love is the greatest magic of all.
Yeah.
Oh, getting teary-eyed.
Once again, how many times do we get that in?
Every movie play it.
And it was great to see the Death Eaters fighting the Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, it was cool. I was a little disappointed by that fight. I wish it was a lot
It wasn't
cooler.
as good as in the book.
It was not that cool. They just like show up like superheroes and it's like white light
White
versus
smoke,
dark.
yeah,
I didn't like it that much because it was lame.
But it did lead to one of the most heartbreaking parts of the franchise is when Sirius gets killed.
When Sirius dies, man,
dies.
that is a bummer because
that was horrible.
he just enters Harry's life and
Yeah.
Harry wants to live with him and they want to live together and you think they're gonna just end up being best buds and he's gonna be his like new dad. He fucking dies. And Harry's like distraught afterwards.
Yeah.
And obviously in the book he destroys Dumbledore's office, but he just like sits down and is like really mad at him
Yeah.
instead in the movie.
Yeah. But like in the audience, we loved Sirius, so seeing him die was heartbreaking.
It was, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a bummer. And you eventually see snippets of him later on.
Yeah.
But it's really sad. But it's a good movie.
Yeah. It's got the most action so far.
It's not like my top 3 or anything like that.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie, but it's a great. They did a great job continuing the story. David Yates' first take knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Half-Blood Prince number 6, which is I think it's my second favorite one out of all of them.
It's fantastic. It's really good.
It's one of the best made films of the franchise. And again, you're taking these characters and they're growing up, not in just the real life and the real world as actors and people, but in the story too. And you're putting them in more mature situations.
The themes are darker.
Yeah, you're really dealing with like girlfriends and boyfriends,
Yeah.
and again, mortal peril for everybody. Relationships that are being broken and people getting in fights and social circles and stuff like that. And
this, I think, it's the most gorgeously shot in the franchise. They chemically dipped the film before they shot it, so it has that desaturated, tinted quality to it, and it sets it apart from the other films. And it's beautifully made, and it was actually the only one that's been nominated for an Oscar for cinematography.
yeah, you're absolutely right. This is the most well shot, beautifully shot movie.
Yeah.
Azkaban's beautiful, but this one is just kind of on a different level than Azkaban.
And on top of the film, it has this greenish tint to it the whole time, and it's got this hue to it and this saturation to it that really sets it apart from the other films and puts it on another level aesthetically.
They got really creative with the shots too.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of cool shots, especially like when they're going into the Pensive, which is a lot different than when they were going into Pensive in the Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
And also like all these cool shots they do, like going into the cauldrons and stuff like that. So I think they just expert cinematography in this movie and more creativity in this movie.
Yeah.
And they're kind of just like expanding their boundaries of what they'll try for shots and try for aesthetics. And everything was just a really great decision because it looks so freaking good. And I really like Snape in this movie. I think he's a lot more comical. He has a lot more scenes than a lot of the other movies too, and you get a really good sense of him. And also, this is again Malfoy's coming back, and Malfoy has a lot of scenes in this movie and has his own secret mission that's going on.
Yeah, we don't really know what he's doing. They haven't explained it. But the movie opens first with that attack in the city, which is really great. It's not in the books, but it's a great addition to show that the Death Eaters are kind of like terrorists.
Yeah, it's scary to see, like it's happening in the real world.
Yeah. We see, and then after that, we see Snape make the unbreakable vow with Narcissa Malfoy, and he pledges that he will follow through with whatever Draco can't accomplish,
and help him.
Yeah,
so help him and follow through if Draco fails his mission, and if he breaks the vow, he dies.
Yeah, he dies.
Which it's pretty big stakes, high stakes, and also because this whole time you're like, is Snape a good guy or is he a bad guy?
Yeah.
And now like you're watching this and obviously you've never read the books.
Yeah.
You're thinking, he's a bad guy.
He really is.
He's a double agent.
Yeah, so he's been pretending the whole time.
Yeah, he's working with Voldemort.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, Dumbledore trusts Snape.
Yeah, and he saved Harry.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
He's helped Harry multiple times.
Yeah.
Although he hates and despises Harry with a passion.
Yeah.
He's never tried to kill him.
Yeah, we'll talk about why in the next few.
But I mean, Alan Rickman is such a great actor, and he is awesome in this movie again, because I think this is the most screen time he gets in any movie.
Yeah. And he has this is the first time in a movie he has a real arc.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A good arc.
Yeah.
He's dabbles in some of the other ones, but like his arcs get cut out of a lot of movies because there's so much material to go over.
Yeah.
But it's a very dark character, but he also plays it in such an empathetic way.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite role that Alan Rickman's ever done.
Yeah, I think Snape's better than Hans Gruber.
Yeah,
Snape is a great villain,
and just like those beats and pauses he takes between his words and everything.
Such a good actor. And then let's just get right to it. When he kills Dumbledore, and you can see the pain in his face, and then Dumbledore begs him, and when Dumbledore says please, initially if you haven't read the books, you think that he's saying please don't kill me. But what he's really doing is he's saying, please kill me.
Yeah, when you go watch that after knowing what's really happening, and then Snape and Alan Rickman does such a great job expressing that emotion that he doesn't want to kill him.
Yeah, it changes the context.
But he has to. Yeah. And he promised Dumbledore that he'd do it.
Yeah. There's something, actually, that I forgot to mention in Sorcerer's Stone is J.K. Rowling divulged some facts about Snape's his storyline in the later books to Alan Rickman to help inform his performance. Mm-hmm. So he knew some things that other actors didn't know, even from the first movie. But and then he's great in this movie. He steals every scene he's in. And then when it's revealed that he's the Half-Blood Prince, you're like, oh fuck, he must really be one of the main bad guys now.
Yeah, he's really working with Voldemort.
Yeah, because the whole time you think the Half-Blood Prince it's got to be Voldemort. You know what I mean?
Or if not Voldemort, just some other dark wizard.
Yeah. But the last person you expected was Snape.
Yeah, and before Dumbledore's death, though, like, Dumbledore is heavily involved in this movie, which I love because Michael Gambon's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many interactions with him, with Dumbledore and Harry, and it's awesome to see, and he becomes this new father figure for Harry, which we've been wanting to see for so long.
Yeah, them sharing the screen together is the highlight of this movie.
Because again, Order of the Phoenix, he's hardly in there because he's keeping his distance from Harry. Yeah. But now he's like a fatherly figure. He's very warm with Harry. Yeah. He's cordial. He's open with him.
And then, but also in all the other movies, like when they interact, there's either other people around or they're at Dumbledore's office, and that's it, pretty much.
Yeah.
So in this one, they actually go on an adventure.
Yeah. And
it's this great sequence where they go
Journey to the Cave.
So in Half-Blood Prince, we're introduced to the Horcruxes, and we're learning what they are in relation to Voldemort.
And we realized and we learned that the diary was a Horcrux.
The diary was the first Horcrux that we saw
in the ring.
Yeah. And then and so now they're on this journey to get this new Horcrux. But this one it's
magical protection.
Magical protection. And when they get to that little island on the water, and then those like dead zombie-like creatures start coming out of the water.
And fairy.
Yeah, it's terrifying, man.
Well, first they're just taking the little boat across, and you can see them floating peacefully beneath the surface of the water. But the scene, so they get to the island, and Dumbledore has to drink the potion.
Yeah.
And it's just such an emotional scene because he's saying all these things that you don't know at the time. Again, connect with later on in the Deathly Hallows when you learn about Dumbledore's past.
Yeah.
And he's begging Harry to kill him and everything. And it's just a very emotional scene with the music and the pain that Michael Gambon's expressing as Dumbledore.
Yeah, in the scene, if you haven't seen it, he has to drink all of this liquid, and it only works if he drinks all of it.
Yeah. And then you find out eventually at the end of the movie that the Horcrux wasn't real, and Harry thinks Dumbledore died for no reason at all, in vain. But really, it was a necessary step to finding out the Horcruxes and everything.
And it's a great scene when Harry gets taken under the water by those zombie creatures, and then Dumbledore finally comes to, and he just busts out these giant flames that envelop the entire cave. And it's like, holy shit, Dumbledore is so powerful.
Yeah.
You forget about it sometimes.
Now you're connected with, we're also seeing Draco and his whole mission that he's been on this whole entire movie, his side mission, which you obviously Dumbledore seems to have let him run out and like accomplish. He's let Death Eaters into the house.
Apparently he knew about it the whole time.
Yeah, so he knew about it the whole time and let it happen, just like he let Snape and wanted Snape to kill him. And obviously in the book, there's this crazy massive battle.
Yeah.
But you can see why they couldn't like afford to do that. Maybe they couldn't fit it in.
Also, I think it had too much running time already.
Yeah.
It's a long one.
It's a long movie, so I understand why they didn't put that into the movie, but they still did a great job with this entire scene.
Yeah.
But there's so many other great things about this movie I want to touch on real quick. Like Jim Broadbent as Horace Slughorn is awesome in this movie.
He's so funny.
He's so fun and such an interesting guy, and I think he does a great job in this movie as Slughorn, and like the Slug Club sequences are great. Yeah. And then you learn that he's an essentially vital character to this story, specifically with the flashbacks with Tom Riddle and the memories and trying to procure the correct memory from him.
Yeah. And I think that's my favorite part about the whole film are the flashbacks to Tom Riddle, because it's so fascinating to see what Voldemort was like as a kid and as a teenager. In that first scene when Dumbledore finds him in the orphanage, and the young actor he's great. It's actually Ralph Fiennes' nephew.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's just got, you can tell he's like a serial killer as a kid.
Yeah.
Because he when Dumbledore's talking to him, he tells Dumbledore that he can hurt things and he can hurt animals.
Steals things.
He steals things. So he's using his magical powers for nefarious reasons, and he likes to kill. You have that sense like it's like a serial killer as a child. You know what I mean? You can see that he's a sociopath.
Yeah,
and he doesn't understand what he's doing.
Yeah, those are great sequences going back. And then, this movie is about teenagers navigating hormonal life. You know what I mean? They're going through so many changes and they're dealing with relationships, but also you're dealing with Voldemort on the rise and the Death Eaters continuing their movement. So it's like this great tension of death staring you like in the shadows, but also real life. Yeah. And this movie heavily deals with a lot of relationships, like Ron with Lavender Brown.
Hooking up with Lavender.
And I know a lot of people don't like this whole like rom-com aesthetic and part of it, but it's part of the books. And I really like that they brought it to the movie.
It brings a lightness to the movie. Yeah. Because otherwise it's a very dark movie.
And it's relatable. Yeah. I think people who don't like this have just never been with a girl before or been with a... So they're upset about it. But I have no problem with all the romance, and I think it's fun. It's a good time. It's relatable. Yeah. And
there's drama. It's good. Yeah. It's a school of kids that live a co-ed school and they live there. There's gonna be drama.
Yeah, you can't leave it out.
Yeah.
It makes it seem extra relatable.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with broken hearts and broken relationships and people in love with each other and making mistakes. And then I think Michael Dumbledore's like, to be young and in love or something like that. Yeah. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And one of the best scenes in the whole movie though is Liquid Luck.
Yeah.
So Harry wins Liquid Luck
Felicis.
Thanks to the potions book that that his Half-Blood Prince helped him out with. And then he's been saving it, and at first he tricks Ron to thinking that he gave it to him to perform better at the Quidditch game.
Just like MJ in Space Jam.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. JK definitely stole that. Yeah. Mike's magic drink or something like that. Yeah. And then he actually uses Felix, and like they're trying to figure out, you have to get the memory though. Like that's the most important thing, Harry. How are you gonna figure this out? And then he's like, we'll take Felix Felicis. Yeah. And then it's so funny because he takes the Felix Felicis, and then he's supposed to go help Slughorn, and then he's like, I think I'll go see Hagrid.
And he puts him on this weird trail of like this random shit that he's just doing.
Yeah, he meets up with Slughorn.
It's really clever.
In the book, like there's more with like Ginny and stuff. Yeah. But like he meets up with Slughorn, and Slughorn is like stealing like flowers off a plant. Yeah. And then eventually leads to helping him bury Aragog, where Slughorn eventually, after him and Hagrid get drunk together, gives into giving Harry the memory.
Exactly what he needed.
And it's just a really funny,
it's really clever
and emotional sequence. Yeah. Because it's the first time that Harry kind of talks about his parents and talks about his mother to somebody else and like the sacrifice that she made.
And
like
Slughorn connects to it because he loved Lily as a student. Yeah. She was one of his favorite students.
So it's a really great monologue by Harry and Radcliffe, and it's a really emotional scene.
And it's an important memory because it's the memory which reveals that Tom Riddle was asking about Horcruxes, which ends up becoming his ultimate plan to immortality.
So yeah, this is my second favorite.
This is a great movie. I think it's absolutely one of the best of the franchise. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, there's so much we could talk about, but I think we should probably move on.
To
the Deathly Hallows
Part 1.
We should probably just do Part 1 and Part 2 all together.
I think we should, actually.
Yeah, we'll just say Deathly Hallows is Part 1 and 2 jumbled together as one big movie. Because really, they wrote it originally as one script. It was like 580 pages. Yeah. And it was like it would be a 5-hour cut. Yeah. But I'm so glad that they cut this into 2 movies because there's so much material that you have to cover. and you can't do it justice by doing one movie, even if you did a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, a lot of people say it was a cash grab by Warner Brothers, and yes, they made a lot more money by making it 2 movies, but this story for this book is so jam-packed with important material, like you just said. There's no way it could have worked as one movie for 2.5 hours. There's no way. It's inconceivable.
I mean, there are other long books like Goblet of Fire, but they're just in school half the time. You
Yeah.
don't need to show every freaking classroom scene, but there's so many vital plot points in Deathly Hallows, the book, that you have to show. Like, everything with the Deathly Hallows in general, like,
It's super important.
You need everything that happens in that movie, in the book, into the movie.
And this movie has a fantastic opening where it opens with that Death Eater meeting, and Voldemort's just like, he's in power, and all the Death Eaters at the Malfoy mansion, and you're like, holy shit, this shit's real. And there's that woman they kidnapped, and she's just floating above the table.
Yeah, the Muggle Studies professor.
Yeah, the Muggle Studies professor, and it's just like terrifying.
He's
like
she thinks we should mate with the Muggles. And the irony of Voldemort and his pure blood obsession is he's half blood.
Voldemort is such an interesting character because he hates Muggles and he hates Half-Blood so much, but he is one himself.
So he hates himself.
He hates himself, which leads to his trouble with his own identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's such an ironic character.
Like, he never wants to accept who he is.
Yeah.
So he pretends he's something he's not.
He calls his dad a filthy Muggle. You know what I mean?
But he still talks about bringing pure blood to the Muggle, to the Wizarding world.
He's a contradiction. He's so fascinating as a character.
He really is.
And the thing with Voldemort is his biggest fear for being the most evil, powerful wizard ever to exist. He fears death more than anyone else.
He fears death and he fears the dark.
Yeah, he is obsessed with not dying, and that's what leads him on his entire journey.
Yeah, that's where he hides his Horcruxes, so he's afraid of the dark, so that's why he hides inside that cave.
Yeah,
and he's afraid of death, so that's why he has the stone.
And that's the main difference between him and Harry, because Harry willingly sacrifices himself because he's not afraid of death.
We'll get to that. But these movies, phenomenal, an amazing end to the franchise.
I love them both.
And just like when you read the books, it just feels odd though because you're not at Hogwarts when it starts.
That's why I like it so much.
And so you're in like the real world.
It's new. It's fresh and it's exciting.
Yeah, and then
they're wearing normal clothes
like the whole time.
Yeah.
And obviously, they eventually end up back at Hogwarts, but you can't help but crave the atmosphere of the castle. Yeah. But it eventually gets craved when you're at the castle in the second one.
It gets quenched.
And one of my favorite parts of both movies is the beginning of Deathly Hallows 1 after the Malfoy Manor, the 7 Harrys.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's such a great scene.
Because you read about it, and then you're like, how are they going to do this? And you saw it in the trailer.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see on screen in person.
And it's practical. It's a practical effect. They used a camera, a motion-controlled camera that did the same movement for each take. Mm-hmm. And then Daniel Radcliffe really just put every outfit on.
Yeah, he said he counted over 90 takes for just one shot.
Oh, man.
So, like, the workload that he had to do for that is insane.
Imagine.
It's
but
just
it looks great.
Expert filmmaking.
And all it looks it looks so good you think it could be fake.
Yeah.
It's that good of an effect. You're like, oh, it can't be real, but it is.
Yeah. That's why it looks so awesome.
Yeah, and they did a great job with that chase scene and the escape.
Yeah.
Because it's a really intense part of the book. And this movie, it just gets right off the bat. We got an intense action scene right from the get-go.
Action movie, here we go.
Yeah.
And I love Mad Eye Moody and Charlie Weasley in the same room at the same time because in real life, they're father and son. It's Brendan Gleeson and Domhnall Gleeson. Yeah. And it's so cool. They must have had just like the best time on set doing that for like those few days that they were together.
Yeah, and that's Domhnall's first major role, I think.
Yeah, big time. Because then after that, he was like in Star Wars and stuff like that. This is also the first Harry Potter movie that J.K. Rowling was on as a producer. Which obviously led to her writing the scripts for Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, and what's cool about part 1 is it feels like it's a road movie.
Yeah,
because Harry, Ron, and Hermione are traveling the whole time, constantly moving with like this nomadic sense of geography. So it's like a whole new genre. You know what I mean?
And you would think it would be boring because in the books it's pretty long, like their journey, like camping out. But they do a really great job in like. What they do, I think, really well is they pick like these beautiful filming locations, just like wow,
it's stunning,
amazing, like wow, that's a way to camp right there. And but it works, and obviously the Horcrux that they have on the locket like wears down on them in the moods and everything.
And they use the polyjuice potion to break into the ministry, and they're these two like middle-aged people.
Yeah.
And it's just great to see them as like older adults.
And like Ron is like the klutz of the ministry,
Yeah.
of course, because he's already the klutz in the group, and he has to fix that guy's office.
Yeah, he's a repairman.
He's like, my office is raining. He's like, did you try an umbrella?
It's a great shot when all those like hands are reaching into the elevator to get them. And
No, it's a great sequence,
Yeah.
and stealing the locket from Umbridge's neck is just so tense.
so intense.
And just getting there using the decoy detonators,
Yeah.
and he's inside Umbridge's office after he takes Mad Eye's eye off.
And we
the
see
wall,
like
off
how
the
much
door.
power Umbridge has now.
And how she's taken over the ministry, and how
Yeah.
Voldemort's taken over the government and everything. And it's terrifying to see. But then, they eventually steal the locket from Umbridge in that awesome scene with the Dementors and like during the Half-Bloods being going through testimonials. And so they steal the locket, but then they can't go back to Grimmauld Place anymore, which was like their haven for security. And this is where it's like the first major life-threatening injury to happens to any of them when Ron gets splinched.
Yeah.
When they're trying to apparate back to Grimmauld Place, but the ministry guy grabs a hold of him, so Hermione just has to escape and go into the middle of the woods. And this is starting to wear on Ron and wear on all of them this journey.
Yeah, and the locket's just making it worse as well.
Yeah, and they're starting to turn on each other, and Ron is like upset that like Harry doesn't have this master plan, even though Harry told them everything.
Yeah.
And
it's just it was hard to see them all turn, especially Ron turn on them.
and then Ron eventually abandons them.
Yeah.
Which obviously leads to him having the Illuminator, which brings him back. But there's this great scene when Harry and Hermione are on their own after Ron's left, and they're both very sad and they're tired and they're weak and they don't know what to do, and they're kind of lost with their journey on finding the Horcruxes, and they haven't figured out their next step yet. And they wrote in this scene into the script, Steve Kloves. It's not in the book, where Harry and Hermione have this. There's a song playing in the background. It's actually a Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds song, "Oh Children," and they have this really cute little emotional dance of just like being really good friends and trying to lighten the mood and boost morale and just try to stay positive. And it's a really sweet scene.
Nice little moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Yeah, so Ron comes back.
Yeah.
He sees the dough, but you don't see it. But Harry sees the dough,
Yeah.
and he follows it to a frozen lake, and he sees a sword of Gryffindor at the bottom of the lake. And obviously, it has to be put there. Obviously, later on, Dumbledore explains to Snape that he has to put it underneath like obstacles to grab. So he has to go on like be brave and like throw himself on the line to get the sword to be able to earn it.
Yeah.
And then Ron obviously saves him. And then when Ron kills the locket and he kills that Horcrux,
But first of all, when the locket opens.
yeah, when it opens up, and then like Harry and Hermione are just macking.
They're naked, making out.
It's crazy.
It's so weird.
It's
and
nuts.
as that voice is just taunting Ron.
Yeah,
And then he finally smashes the sword onto it.
it's great. It's
Yeah.
a very satisfying scene.
Great-
and then he comes
great
back to Hermione. He's like, "Hey, Hermione, what's up? What's up,
She's
babe?"
pissed.
Pissed off at him big time.
Rightfully so.
And then obviously,
The Death Eaters, not that gang of guys come and capture them.
yeah, the Snatchers come and
Snatchers.
catch them. They go to Malfoy Manor, and obviously Bellatrix is a horrible person and tries to kill everybody and starts torturing Hermione.
Yeah.
Then Harry and Ron get put in the basement, and who's
But
there?
they don't recognize Harry because
Yeah.
she messed up his face so that you can't tell who it is.
Yeah.
And then even Lucius and Narcissa ask Draco, "Can you identify Harry?" And he's not sure. But you also think Draco knows
No,
for
Draco does know.
Draco knows for sure.
Yeah, but this is an interesting character trait for him because he knows it's Hermione, he knows it's Ron, so obviously it's Harry.
Yeah.
And he knows it's Harry.
Yeah,
He's wearing
he
the glasses
knows.
in order, but Draco, like what Dumbledore says earlier on is Draco is not a killer. And
He's not his dad.
his soul isn't completely lost yet,
Yeah.
and he can be saved, and he can come to the light.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that there's a good person deep down in Draco somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's dying to come out.
He's caught up in this world that he doesn't feel like he belongs in now.
Yeah. And so then, obviously, the sequence where Dobby saves them out of the basement where Luna and Ollivander are. And then, obviously, they escape and Dobby gets killed. Oh, man, what an emotional scene.
When Harry's holding Dobby on the beach, and Dobby, what does Dobby say? He's like,
what such a beautiful place to be with friends.
"Oh man,
Dude, it's very emotional. It's tough. It's tough because
So sad.
I love Dobby.
He's just like this great innocent character who you love, and It's great. It was so sad. So sad.
And then when you read the books, he's more in the books, so you like get to know him even more. But still, it's a really sad thing to see because he loves Harry so much.
Yeah.
And he'd do anything for Harry, and Harry set him free and everything.
Yeah.
And so the end of Deathly Hallows 1 is with Dobby's death at Shell Cottage. And then Deathly Hallows 2 starts.
But before, hold on, I want to talk about something we missed that I love, is the backstory about the Deathly Hallows.
Okay, with Xenophilius.
So when they go to Lovegood's house, and he tells them the story of the three brothers, I wasn't sure how they were gonna film the sequence, and what they did was they made it an animated sequence to tell the story of the three brothers and the history of the Deathly Hallows. And it's this incredible animated sequence, beautiful animation, very unique,
smoky,
very
figures.
so creative and so well done. And I thought it was a brilliant way to tell the story of the Deathly Hallows without being boring, because how do you tell it other than someone telling it in a room for 5 minutes? Because it's a long story. So it was a great job by Yates and the team to decide we'll make a really unique animated segment for this story. And I loved it.
Very high quality, too.
Yeah.
And Ray Fiennes is awesome as Xenophilius Lovegood.
He's perfect.
And he took the role. He didn't even read the books. He just took it because he wanted to work with such an amazing cast. And so, I'm sure he's read the books now. Who knows? The guy's kind of a wild character. But yeah, it's a terrific animation sequence. And then,
I think that's one of my favorite parts of that movie.
Yeah, me too. And so Deathly Hallows 1 ends with Dobby dying at Shell Cottage, and then Deathly Hallows 2 starts with them learning about the wands. The Elder Wand is real.
So at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 1, Voldemort breaks into Dumbledore's tomb, and he takes the Elder Wand from him, and then he just stands in the woods, and he just goes, ah! And just like lightning shoots out of his wand, and you're like, oh, fuck!
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's pretty badass.
That's great.
Yeah, so then Deathly Hallows Part 2 starts, opens up at Shell Cottage. I think that's the first scene, right?
Yeah, first scene.
Shell Cottage.
Yeah.
Harry buried Dobby, and then the Goblin is really interested in Harry. But they also learn about the wand and the Elder Wand from Ollivander, and they learn about wands lore. And it's really great because you're getting this backstory. And then they decide eventually that they're going to break into Gringotts to steal the sword of Gryffindor because they find out the sword is in the Bellatrix Lestrange's vault.
Yeah.
And that's what they found out at Malfoy Manor. So they have to break into Gringotts, which opens up like the craziest sequence ever. Like when they break into Gringotts and steal the freaking sword, holy fucking shit.
Well, first of all, Hermione uses Polyjuice Potion to become Bellatrix.
It's so fun.
Which is great because they're the two most different characters in the book.
Yeah, and Helena Bonham Carter
she's so funny.
She's so great. She's playing she's Bellatrix Lestrange, but she's really Hermione Granger
pretending to be Bellatrix.
It's Emma Watts' voice that's being voiced over for Helena Bonham Carter. And it's just so fun to see.
Yeah.
Because she's such a great actress.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
And then you can see she had a lot of fun doing this because she actually gets to play like Hermione for a little bit.
Yeah.
And be her and have her mannerisms until they get to Diagon Alley.
It's just so funny trying to see her try to be like evil and horrible.
Yeah.
And she's like not very good at it. And then Ron, they just gave him long hair and a beard.
Yeah.
And then it made him look older. And then with Harry, he's in the invisibility cloak with the goblin on top of him.
It's just awesome breaking in, and once they start getting onto them, and they have to get out,
and that rail just like going through the caverns.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of fun, and it's a great first act. That's the first act of the movie. It's breaking in.
They escape on top of the dragon.
They're on a freaking dragon.
It's insane.
It's so fucking nuts.
It's great.
I love when they're stealing the treasure though, and all the expanding treasures going on.
And
it looks like practical effects to me.
Yeah.
It looks
great.
A lot of it looks like it's real.
I think a lot of it is, yeah.
And
I love the design of the dragon because it's been held in captivity underground for however many decades.
Yeah.
So it's become very light in skin, and it's weak and skinny,
scarred
up, and it looks like it's suffered for so long.
Yeah,
and so it's a unique look for a dragon.
You feel good about the dragon escaping.
Yeah, I feel great about it.
He finally gets out, and he's finally on the building. He's like, breath, fresh air. Oh my God, and they fly away.
But I mean, they fucking fly a dragon in the first fucking 20 minutes of the movie. It's
pretty
great.
crazy.
It's
pretty
incredible.
Nuts. And then
oh, by the way, also I forgot to mention Alexandre Desplat took over for the score in Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, and he did a phenomenal job. I think, obviously, besides John Williams, he's the next best composer of the other films.
I agree.
Yeah.
I know Nicholas Hooper did 5 and 6, But I guess he said that it was an emotional strain on his family, so he didn't want to do the other two. He did a great job.
He did a good job, yeah.
Half-Blood Prince is great music, too.
Yeah, but I think Desplat is a brilliant composer, and he did such an excellent job with this.
He has such a unique voice.
Yeah.
Musically, it's just like so hard to pinpoint. His like cinematic style is just incredible.
He's very much like John Williams, where it's actually rare for composers, especially film composers. He writes and he conducts the orchestra during the recording.
That's pretty cool.
They often don't conduct as well.
Yeah. All right, so Battle of Hogwarts.
Oh,
Voldemort
man.
knows that they have the Horcruxes. They're going after Horcruxes, and shit's hitting the fan. And this is where they learn that the final Horcrux is at Hogwarts because Voldemort's like, I gotta get to Hogwarts pretty soon. And so they go back to Hogwarts, and it's this great sequence where they they get into Hogsmeade and they meet Aberforth. Aberforth saves them from the Death Eaters. And,
Who is Dumbledore's brother?
Who's Dumbledore's brother. And you finally get to learn about Dumbledore in his past because you get snippets of it when Harry's going through the book and he's reading the book that Rita Skeeter wrote, and he starts to get these bad bits of information from Dumbledore because, he thought that he and Dumbledore were so close, but Dumbledore didn't even tell them that they were both from Godric's Hollow or anything like that. So he's like, how can I be so emotionally connected to someone who didn't even tell me that? And Aberforth tells him some more information, tells him about the sister and what really happened. And it's pretty emotional, and
how Albus was responsible for their sister's death.
Yeah, and you finally you learn something unsavory about Dumbledore.
Yeah,
and what happened in his past.
Because you think he's this perfect guy, and he's everything that you can think of in a good person, and then you find out that he has a dark past,
and he's flawed just like everybody else.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. And then we're getting into Hogwarts. Neville comes.
Neville,
he's so badass in this movie.
Yeah, he's sick in this movie.
Talk about redemption. This guy is a whole new person. He's got scars. He's bleeding from his
head. He's in charge
head.
of all the kids.
Yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah.
He's a hero in this movie.
And I love he leads them through the tunnel, and then they get into the big room, and all of the classmates are there, and they've just been camped out there waiting for their attack.
Yeah, they've been waiting for Harry, too.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
It's awesome to see them reunited with their friends.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
And Ginny's there too, and she's reunited with Harry, and it's an amazing. But then this movie part 2 is just as slow paced as part 1 is. Part 2 is just on the go, constant action, constant moving,
nonstop,
constant story, and right from this point on, it's basically like, we gotta find the Horcrux. We gotta kill Voldemort. We gotta stop it. But also, this is just gonna be this all-out war.
Yeah,
a wizarding war,
which has been building for 7 movies.
7 goddamn movies, a decade.
Yeah,
all these books,
and it's amazing when the Voldemort and the Death Eaters make that first attack on the castle, and the teachers put up that barrier and that defense barrier that goes over the property, and the Death Eaters can't break through it, and it's just like, it's unbelievable to see the teachers getting ready to defend this place. And McGonagall brings all those statues to life. And she's like, I've always wanted to use that spell.
She's like, us teachers are rather good at magic, Potter.
Like, even she's a badass.
It's pretty great to see all these professors, like, they're about to go to war.
But also when Harry gets there initially, Snape has taken over Hogwarts.
Yeah, he's the headmaster.
Yeah, he's the headmaster now, and he's like enacting like a strict like martial law type of environment.
And basically this battle is intense, and the fighting, and
they do such a good job.
It's realistic, and you've never seen so much destruction in
Hogwarts
a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, it gets destroyed.
And they blow this place up.
And then there's there's everything. There's like trolls in it. There's giants in it. There's spiders,
explosions, boom,
guns. But it's like the entire cast, everyone that's been in a Harry Potter movie has showed up for this battle.
Yeah, even Percy's there.
Everyone's there.
So now this battle's been raging on. Harry's figured out it's the tiara. They get it back. That's crazy where they have to save Malfoy and his crew after Goyle sets the whole place on fire.
Yeah.
With that like evil incendiary fire, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's a flame that just grows larger and larger and never stops.
Yeah, and then they kill the Horcrux with it too.
Yeah.
And then Voldemort,
once that one gets once they destroy that Horcrux, it cuts to Voldemort, and he reacts like in pain to it, like he felt it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you could see like panic in his face.
Yeah.
Because he knows what the kids are doing.
And then Ron and Hermione go off on their own, and they kill the Horcrux and the
In
Basilisk.
the Chamber of Secrets.
But I have a huge issue with this scene when they killed it with
Why?
the Fang, because they kill the Horcrux with the Fang. The water goes up everywhere and splashes them, and then they kiss. And then you've been waiting like so long for this kiss. You read about it, and it's like an emotional moment, big time moment, and all you can see is the back of Ron Weasley's stupid fucking head.
Yeah. He covers her face with his head.
It's a terrible shot.
Horrible shot.
Like,
I know
come on.
exactly what you're talking about. You're right.
I don't want to see the back of his head.
Yeah, awful shot.
It's terrible.
Awful.
Oh, it's gross, man.
Do you think they just like they were reluctant to do it so bad? They were just like, okay, we'll just do it once.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe they got a couple takes,
I
but
wouldn't want to kiss that guy.
it's a terrible shot. Terrible shot.
You're right. You don't see shit when they kiss.
Yeah, and then they meet up with Harry again, and
But then this is when Voldemort stops the attack on the castle, and he gives them an ultimatum. Harry needs to surrender himself to Voldemort, or else they're gonna kill everyone in the castle. Which is really tough for Harry because he just has to sacrifice himself in order to save everyone else.
yeah. But at this point, Harry's been able to access Voldemort's mind without him knowing.
Yeah.
And this is where he learns that Snape's with him and Nagini's there, and so they kind of just he's gonna go after Voldemort on his own, and so he eventually does. And this is where Voldemort kills Snape because Voldemort thinks that Snape has the true power of the Elder Wand.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that by killing Dumbledore, he gained access to the power. When really Draco's the one who's the master of the Elder Wand.
Yeah, because what happened was Draco disarmed Dumbledore.
In Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah. So Draco is the true the Elder Wand truly belongs to Draco now.
Yeah.
But since Snape killed Dumbledore, Voldemort doesn't know that Draco disarmed Dumbledore. So he thinks that the wand belongs to Snape, so in order to gain true access to the Elder Wand, Voldemort has to kill Snape.
Yeah, and so then Harry approaches Snape after Nagini attacks him, and then Voldemort leaves, and then he gives him the memories, and then you really learn that this whole time, by going through Snape's memories, that he was a good person, and he was a double agent for Dumbledore, not for Voldemort. And he was a fake agent for Voldemort.
And he put his life on the line every day for 20 years almost because of his love for Lily, Harry's mother.
Mm-hmm. And he really, in turn, that eventually means that he loved Harry too.
Yeah.
And he protected him the whole time.
And the only reason why, and you learn, I don't think they touch on it in the movie, but the reason why Snape dislikes Harry so much is because he looks so much like James.
Yeah, just
his
like
father.
James. Yeah.
So he reminds him of James because James was a bully to him in school.
Yeah, and there's a scene in the memories of him and Dumbledore, because Dumbledore, obviously you learn that Dumbledore knew the whole time about everything, and he knew about Draco coming to kill him. And then Snape says something like, when Dumbledore tells him that Harry's the final Horcrux, Snape's like, so what, you've been raising him for slaughter like a pig?
Yeah.
Then Dumbledore's, oh, so don't tell me you've come to care for the boy, and he doves the Patronus into dove, which is the same as Lily's.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the infamous line of always comes from.
After all this time?
Getting goosebumps.
Always. And it's just, I think it's probably one of the most emotional parts of the entire franchise is seeing the journey of Snape that's been kept behind closed doors the entire time. And you really see how much he's given into the cause that Dumbledore has put him towards, into protecting Harry at all costs.
Yeah.
And to doing whatever he can to protect this boy.
And this makes you become a massive fan of Snape.
Yeah.
When you finally learn his true meaning in life and what he's really about.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Harry eventually accepts his fate and walks out to the Forbidden Forest to be killed by Voldemort. And he doesn't think he's going to survive, obviously. He's going to sacrifice himself.
This scene right here is, I think, Daniel Radcliffe's shining moment as an actor, because he's always been a very good actor as Harry. But when he walks into the woods and he goes into that clearing where the Death Eaters are with Voldemort, he has this look on his face like he really knows that he's about to die. And Radcliffe plays it so well, I believed it completely. He did an excellent job with this scene.
Yeah, it's very emotional because he's talking to the ghosts of his family and his loved ones, and they say that they'll be with him the whole time. And then he accepts his fate and he lets Voldemort kill him. Yeah. And then there's that sequence with Dumbledore. With Harry and Dumbledore and King's Cross, but everything's white.
It's like this limbo-esque,
heaven-esque
we don't know
environment.
what it is. Yeah. And then Dumbledore gives us some like needed information. And also we see underneath that bench, there's a little tiny like disgusting humanoid body all curled up, and it seems to be suffering. And you're like, what is it? And Harry's like, what is that thing? And Dumbledore's like, so I can't remember what
It's
he
beyond
says.
saving.
Yeah, it's beyond saving.
But really, that's Voldemort.
Yeah, that's what happens to Voldemort's soul after he dies. Is he's just gonna suffer for what he's done to his soul by ripping it apart.
Yeah, so that's what
with
he's
the
become.
Horcruxes.
That's what he will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Harry coming back to life, and
When Harry comes back to life, the Death Eaters don't know it, and then Voldemort, we learn from his crew's reaction. He's on the ground and they pick him up, and we learn like that obviously was Voldemort in limbo as well. And then he's so terrified of Harry at this point where he doesn't even want to check if he's alive himself, and he has Narcissa check if Harry's alive. And Narcissa, obviously, we learn that Harry's still alive, and whispers that Draco's still in the castle. So she betrays the Death Eaters and Voldemort in order to save her son, which leads to Voldemort confronting everyone at the castle with Harry's supposed dead body.
well, I love this scene when he walks up
Yeah.
with his Death Eaters and like all of the people who are fighting in the castle, like
Yeah.
meet them all,
Yeah.
and it's just like this. Voldemort's telling all these people that they have to join him or they're gonna die.
Yeah, he's like finally taking over
Yeah.
the Wizarding World.
He thinks he's won.
Yeah.
And then Neville stands up to him. But before that, Draco, his parents, Lucius.
Because he asks anyone who is willing to come over here by choice, do it now.
Yeah.
And then Draco's parents like,
Come here, Draco.
get over here.
So he walks over and like Voldemort gives him that like super awkward hug,
So awkward. He's just got like this funny face, like,
which was improvised.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to interact with people.
Yeah, but he did that. He did that as an improvisation. Ray
And
Fiennes.
it's so funny and cringy, but
Yeah.
I think it works really well.
It's so good.
It was
And his
awesome.
wand, he's just like, yes, I'm a good leader. And then obviously shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And everything erupts because Harry comes back and stops playing dead.
And he runs away.
And then Neville pulls the sword out of the hat,
Yeah.
the sorting hat, and he slices Nagini's head off.
Oh, man.
And then Voldemort sees Harry and starts chasing him through the castle. And it's terrifying.
They have this like moving battle throughout the castle,
which is very
while
cool.
the rest of the battle is taking place, and it's just this epic fucking 15 minutes of action. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
And then you have like Molly Weasley kills Bellatrix
Yeah.
Lestrange after she's dueling Ginny and someone else. And then
After she calls her a bitch.
she's like, "Not my daughter, you bitch!" Blows her up into a million pieces. It's a great duel.
Yeah.
And this is an emotional battle because so many people have died, and real characters have died. I mean, Lupin and Tonks died. One of the Weasley twins has died.
Yeah.
So a lot of characters have
They're real
passed on.
stakes. It's not like a Marvel movie.
And then and then it's the final battle, man.
Oh, my
and this
God.
is where you're learning Harry knows everything, and he calls Riddle by his name, Riddle,
Yeah.
instead of Voldemort. And Harry knows
Calls
he
him
has
Tom.
He calls us Tom. He calls him Riddle. And Voldemort still doesn't understand what's going on. And then he's like, "Oh, is it love? Is it Dumbledore's love? Is that what's going to save you this time?" But now Harry reveals to him that he's the one who's the true possessor of the Elder Wand, and he has the real power. And they do their freaking spells, Expelliarmus.
When they do that last, because what happens is like right before that, Neville kills Nagini, and so we know that Voldemort is completely weakened, and he's vulnerable, and he's immortal now. And then when they do their spells and their laser beams connect, and the splat score is just going crazy with the strings, and then you can see that Harry's red is overtaking the green, and it gets closer and closer to Voldemort's wand, and then his hand's like shaking, and the wand starts cracking. He's got this face like he knows he's gonna lose, and then when it finally overtakes his wand, and then his face just starts like breaking apart, and he starts turning into dust. It's amazing. It's such a great climax.
Then Harry catches it.
Harry catches it.
Catches
Yeah,
the
he catches
other
the wand. And then for sure Voldemort's absolutely dead this time because he just disintegrates.
Yeah.
Avenger style.
Yeah. And the war is over, man. Harry won. Good
It was
beat evil.
so satisfying.
Yeah. I wish that he fixed his wand though with the Elder Wand like he did in the books
book,
though.
yeah.
But it's still great. His decision to break the Elder Wand forever so
Yeah.
that no one could ever use it
Yeah.
is very admirable.
That's who Harry is.
And he's just, he's one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And this is one of the greatest stories ever written, ever told. and it's gonna live on forever, man.
Yeah, it'll always be loved, especially by people like us. But then it's a movie that every new generation can watch, a series that they can watch, and I think it's one of the greatest stories ever told too.
Yeah, and I just hope that one day when Radcliffe's a little older, they do like Harry Potter as like an R.
Dude, that would be so sick.
Like a badass older.
Fuck Fantastic Beasts. Just get me Harry Potter fucking up bad wizards.
I'll give Fantastic Beasts a new chance because Steve Kloves is going to write it, and he wrote pretty much all the scripts from the books, but I'm not a huge fan of the Fantastic Beasts movie.
Yeah, they're not the same.
They're not the same.
They didn't capture that same magic.
They don't have the magic. All right, I'm pretty exhausted.
This is a long episode.
Yeah, so that's it for Harry Potter. Raiders of the Lost podcast episode.
Thanks for listening and thanks for watching, everyone.
Be sure to subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram at Raiders of the Lost podcast. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts,